Me and my best friend went to a guest house in the forest. When we first set foot in it, I could feel the energy, and I didn't like this feeling at all. There were no other people than us and our families and the staff. We were staying there for just one night before leaving again. We had dinner outside, and then everyone went to their rooms. It was almost 1 a.m. when we went into our room and started to change. That's when everything began. I went to the bathroom because I had to use the toilet. I locked the door and did what I had to do until my best friend, let's call her Kaya, knocked on the door. "Stop knocking, bitch," I yelled, smiling. But then I heard her talk. "Alex, you need to get the fuck out because I'm fucking scared," she said. Of course, I instantly caught the worry in her voice and unlocked the door. She was standing in front of me, only in her bra and shorts. She was mid-changing. "There's something out, on the balcony," she pointed out through the big window. "Kaya, there's nothing out there." I laughed it off. "No, you don't listen to me. I swear that I saw a woman on the roof and there was some weird liquid in her hair just like blood." I didn't believe her, since she used to scare me like that before. So I went to the window and looked outside. There was a red light from the sign of the hotel, so I couldn't really see anything at first. After a while, though, I saw something on the roof of the balcony. There was something that looked like a blonde woman, lying lifeless on the roof. The liquid really looked like a blood, but still I thought my vision is playing tricks on me, and I went outside. Seeing it up close, I screamed and went back in. "Did you see it? Is it the same?" Kaya asked. I just took her hand and went into the bathroom, locking the door afterwards. We were scared. Kaya tried calling her mum, but she was in the other wing of the house, and her grandmother, the only one close to us, didn't pick up the phone. I didn't call my parents because they would tell us that this is bullshit and go to bed. "You know, that might be a skinwalker," Kaya said, scared. "A what?" This was the first time I ever heard of skinwalkers. She quickly explained to me that they were creatures living in the forest, which could take different forms of humans and animals. And they were not friendly at all. After hearing her explanation, I realized we couldn't sleep in the bathroom, so both of us got out with our phones recording. When I got to the window, I couldn't see anything. It was gone. I opened the door. Kaya tried to stop me from doing so, but I still did it. I went to the place where the blonde woman was, but she was gone. There was only a small trace of blood on the roof, sliding down like it just gave up. Her grandma heard us and told us to go to sleep, and that if she heard something, she would come to our room. We fell asleep after 3 hours, scared because it might come back for us. In the morning, the trace of blood was still there, but without sign of the skinwalker. Finally, we managed to leave soon, going away from that scary guest house in the forest. It all began November 2019. It was me, my brother, and a friend just outside hanging out. We were just circling around the neighborhood when we decided to go into this forest. We go in, and we find a stroller, a crate, and other weird things I forgot about. Frantic, we tell the other kids in the neighborhood about this, though they probably didn't care. Obviously, weirded out, we spent months until COVID hit investigating that forest. But there was one time we still can't explain. It was January 2020. Me, my brother, and 2 friends. We were at the park when we decided to go to the forest again. The park was shaped with the basketball court in the front, playground in the back, and behind the playground was an opening in the trees, where you enter and you reach the playground. Anyways, we went through there on our bikes to the street and into the forest. We reach the forest, and as we are walking in, I see something move in the distance. So I zoom in with my iPhone camera to try and see what it is, but my friend said it was just a branch. Until 5 seconds later, something started chasing us. Terrified, we scream and run away. Ever since then, my memory has gotten hazy, so I do not remember what it looked like, and we didn't take a video because we were terrified. It looked like some Civil War-era soldier on a horse. My brother said it was a prisoner, but to this day we do not know what it was. We never went back in after that, and nobody believed us. In August 2020, I moved away, and I didn't go visit until March of this year. I actually found one of my friends playing basketball, and he remembered that forest, though not the exact same person with us that day. Anyways, he left. So it was me, my brother, and a random old lady. Remember what I said about how the park was shaped? In front of the basketball court, there's a mildly steep and grassy area there. I shot and missed the hoop, so my ball rolled around there, and as I was grabbing it, I saw a lady crouched with a baby for 1 second, and it just disappeared. Mind you, this was around 6-7 p.m, not dark but not necessarily light. I told my brother, then around a minute later I grabbed the basketball from there again when my brother started screaming, so we ran into our parents' car and drove off. He said he heard stuff in the bushes, and I did too. I also heard whispering and footsteps. It hasn't been the same since that day in January 2020. I think there were Satan worshippers in our neighborhood, because there was this one time I was just standing around while my brother and our friends at the time went into the forest, and they came back with photos of a hanging yellow raincoat and chairs all around each other, like a group. And there was another time. Me, my brother and friends were exiting the forest like any other day after school when these teenagers came in, and I don't remember what we said, but they responded with, "We pray here," which most likely explains the chairs and everything else we saw. But I still do not know what went on in that forest, even 2 years later. We got lost in a forest, and it was one of the strangest experiences of my life. The following is a story that took place quite a few years back now. However, it still baffles me completely, and I'd like to share it here. I'm a teenager and I've been in scouting Boy Scouts for nearly all my life, and I really enjoy exploring with my friends and being trusted more as I'm older now. A few years ago, me and 2 girls named Amy and Harriet were asked to head into the woods surrounding our campsite to find a long, straight stick suitable for carving into a point. Bear in mind that I was a lot younger back then. Harriet was older and Amy only 1 year older than myself. We had been walking in deliberately the same direction as to not get lost, and memorizing the surroundings as we went in order to find our way back easily. About 15 minutes in, we couldn't find anything to take back, so we turned around to return to the campsite. That's the initial panic set it. The trees had almost unnaturally knitted themselves together in such a way that it seemed our path was non-existent in the first place, like it had just vanished. We looked around 360 degrees, and now everything looked exactly the same. Trees we could have sworn were different from one another appeared as all copies of the same tree. We kept walking in what we thought to be the correct direction, whilst shouting out for help, and eventually came to a concrete path, almost like a road, but very thin, separating the forest, splitting it into 2. We didn't follow the road as it went in the wrong direction to our campsite. On the other side of the path was more forest. However, nearby was an abandoned shack, likely used for storage or whatever else. We had no idea anything like this was out here in these woods, so we just kept walking. We eventually came to a road we didn't recognize. A woman wearing a pink and purple regatta outdoors coat walked past, and we frantically asked her for the direction of our campsite, as by now, according to our watches and Harriet's phone, we'd been walking for an hour and a half. She said she'd never seen us before, but she said there's another campsite in that direction. We followed her advice and eventually came back to our campsite. We frantically apologized for being so long and that we couldn't find anything. The leader, Ian, could see all 3 of us were shaken up, and he stated confused that we'd only been gone 25 minutes and that our free time was still going on. To this day, This baffles all three of us, as our free time was 40 minutes long, and our watches and phones had said we'd been gone for hours. The forest we were lost in felt crushing and claustrophobic, like we'd entered an area that the concept of time didn't apply to. I believe in the paranormal. However, this was so unlike anything I've heard or experienced before. It literally was like we'd been in a time vortex or something, and that hours in the forest were only minutes in the rest of the world. The feeling was very strange, and it stuck with me for the rest of the camp. This all started when I was very young, maybe 5 or 6. I started to have this very vivid dreams where I'd get tortured and killed. I'd feel all of it. Sometimes I'd see this entity that would touch someone I knew and they'd die. Just like what happened to my cousin, my grandpa and my cat. They all died 3 months after my nightmares. I don't tell anyone about this because I know no one would believe me or would just think I'm crazy. This nightmares stopped for a year, but it all came back this year. It again started on April of 2023. My dream was, I was snowboarding with my dog. My dog ran off to the forest, and there I met this guy. Let's call him James. James followed me through the forest. I asked him for help, and he pointed behind me. So I turned, and when I just saw darkness, I looked back at him, and now he's pointing down. I saw all red. My dog's head is rolling down to me, and the body was in front of me just inches away. I started running out of fright, and this guy followed me. He ran faster, and sometime later, I tripped and woke up in a small house. It wasn't my house. There was 2 people sleeping beside me. I remembered my dog, so I went for the door. I checked it and saw a man just standing there. I asked it if he saw a man running, and he pointed. I looked to where the man was pointing, and I saw James. He's there, and the first thing that I did was run outside. I felt a hot hit on my head and I blacked out. I woke up again, and I'm in a room with yellow walls, tiled floors with this brown color and a ceiling fan. It was some sort of kitchen. I was tied, and James started to do nasty stuff. I watched him fry and eat a fetus. After he finished his meal, he killed me. That was on April. Then the latest nightmare was this December. I found myself in a farm. We were having fun. I was with a lot of strangers dancing and laughing when a demon started slaughtering people. I managed to run with a girl to a house and we locked it. It was kinda dumb, because the demon just destroyed it. It killed the girl and I was left. Before it killed me, I made a deal. I said that he may take me after I have my first child, and he agreed. I woke up soon after that, and I've been contemplating what I just did. Did I really made a deal with a demon or an entity? That's just dumb. Alright, so this happened about 8 months ago. My family, me and my friend, were all on vacation in Concan, Texas. We rented an Airbnb to stay at for the week. It was a nice house, with the backyard having a little green belt forest to the left. My friend and I would play hide and seek out there for fun because of how many good spots there were. When it started to get dark, he wanted to continue playing, so we did. Nothing strange happened. For the next 2 days, my whole family and me and him go out and have fun, fishing and hiking. On about the 3rd day of staying at the house, we get back at about 6-7 p.m, and by then the sun is kinda starting to set, so we go out and play hide and seek in the dark, in the woods. At the back of the house, there's a back door that leads out to a little patio with a roof and walls with window screens. Basically just a small room. And once you walk out of the room, the entire backyard is just grass with a fire pit in the middle. If you were to turn left, there's the forest. In the far left corner of the yard, there was a path that led through the woods, and that's where we would go through to play. Also, there was a small shed on the left side of the house, right by the tree line of the woods. Keep in mind it was now about 8 p.m. because of how long we were playing for, so by now it was super dark. The only light was the moon, the flashlight on my phone, and the small light on the patio, which can barely be seen once you're in the woods. We've been playing for almost an hour, and it's my turn to find him. This is a pretty important part to know. My friend hid right next to the shed, which is right next to the tree line, so he wasn't really hiding in the forest, but I obviously didn't know at the time. So as I'm walking straight through the forest, the path didn't really have any turns, I decide to start recording on my phone, and I start to kinda give up after looking for him for about 2 minutes. So I call his name. Javi! It's silent for about 3 seconds when, out of nowhere, I hear some high-pitched screech from about 40 feet away a little bit to my right. At first, I thought it was him, so I started walking towards the noise, waiting for him to jump out at me. I was about in the middle of the woods, and the noise 100% came from in front of me, not behind me, where my friend was hiding by the shed. So whatever made that noise wasn't him. After a few seconds, I say his name again. Javi? The same noise again, but in a higher pitch. I try and laugh it off, creeped out, so I yell his name once again, and whatever was making the noise responds with a howling type of noise, but it sounded closer to me. I immediately sprint out of there, sounding like a little nerd while running, "Bro, stop, this isn't funny." When I get back to the backyard, I shine my flashlight near the shed because he was breaking sticks, and then he jumps out to scare me. I asked him if it was him making the noise and if he heard it too, and he replied saying, "I thought that was you."